inside Tanzania. This is Lahi Radio from Helsinki, the capital of Finland. Lahi Radio is open to everybody and every language. In other words, it gives a voice to voiceless people. In addition, it acted as a multicultural radio station during the last 3 decades. Our today's guest is Fakihi Mussa, journalist from Tanzania. The Tanzanian community media activist tells us about the role of community media in his country and in general in developing countries. Mussa is a journalist and also chairperson of Mtukwao-yhteisömedia. During this discussion, we hear how the community media works in rural area and pay attention to the visions of the rural people. Fakihi Mussa, welcome to the radio station.
Thank you very much.
Have you ever been to Finland?
Actually, this is my first time to be in Finland. Although I have been to Europe twice, but I did not come here to Finland.
How do you feel about Finland and the Finnish people?
Finland's good. Maybe because I have come during the time when the weather is just almost like Tanzania. But what I could say is that Finland is good, and I enjoy life here. People are cordial, they are welcoming, they are listening, they are people who understand issues. I am happy to be here generally.
Tell us a bit about your life, activity and work.
Actually, I was born the last 64 years. Yes, I mean now I'm 64. Being at 64, I spent almost 37 years in civil service as a civil servant in the Ministry of Agriculture and the cooperatives. And my role there was a communications officer. I had first basic education in agriculture. Thereafter, they trained me. I was trained in journalism, so I was combining the two professions at the same time in communicating the agricultural knowledge from the scientists and experts to the farmers through mass media.
You are participating in the biggest multicultural festival in Finland by the name World Village Festival. What is the main task or aim of this festival?
It's actually I learned from the situation which is now in Finland, especially in Helsinki. Yesterday I went to Turku. They are talking about this World Village Festival, and every corner of Finland is talking about World Village Festival. It's very interesting to see that the contents of the festival invites people of different cultures, different beliefs and professions and projects whatsoever, and different nationalities coming together, sharing the knowledge, the skill, the everything. At least it's a moment, I think, of learning for everybody.
What is your message for this festival?
My message is that the organizers, I'm told Kepa is putting a stretched hand to it. My message is that this needs a continuity and a much more widespread all over the globe, because it's an experience and it's a free discussions which are involved in it. It creates a sort of a relationship. It creates a human love which cannot be obtained even if there is a UN organization. I mean global institutions like that, but they cannot create a harmony and togetherness which is seen here in Helsinki.
From your view and understanding, what does mean multicultural?
Multiculture to me is different cultures brought together. They're different from different, nationalities, or tribes, beliefs, being brought together. Yeah, that's what I understand.
How it is work in your country, in Tanzania?
It's not a festival as big as it is this one, but we have one in Zanzibar. In Zanzibar, it works like the same. It's a multicultural organization. It's very interesting. And by this time, the whole of Zanzibar Island is filled up with guests from different corners of the world. They would show mostly the culture performances from different parts of the world. And it's time when the Zanzibari are making a good business, the hotels and the guest houses, and the people are enriched with different knowledge from different cultures. Yeah.
You are a journalist.
Yes, sir.
Why did you want to become a journalist? What factors affected?
The major, I would say the point that drove me, the driving point that is you see the people on one side, they know nothing. Well, the other side, there are people who are knowledgeable. And these people is very interesting. You will be working with them from day to day, but they will never meet. This man will know something and he will be working with it and they will be living with it, but it's not going to the other person. And it's very interesting. That thing is affecting another person as well. And it might not be very expensive to let that thing known to somebody, to go to somebody else who needs it. And if he gets it, he can make his life better. So I was thinking, first, even when I was a child, thinking, how can people get together so simply? So I came, when I grew up, I saw there was a profession, journalism. Journalism have that job of making people meet, even if they are not physically meeting. It was a very interesting thing that made me join the profession.
What you have learned from this occupation as a journalist during working over years?
I have learned that people change. People are not static. People have different ways. There's a dynamic sort of life, of behavior, which you shouldn't think that he is like that the way you see it. Don't take things for granted. You need to talk to people, be close to the people, so that you get full understanding of their thinkings. God denied us the ability to know exactly what somebody is thinking. So if you think that you know a person, is a controversy you are creating in your own life, because you would be thinking that you know much, but you know little of it. And this year, I have been through working with so many people, I have discovered that, brother.
Dear listener, I am talking with my guest in the studio of Lahi Radio. He is a journalist and activist from Tanzania. He is telling about his activity and the community media in rural area. Stay with us through 100.3 megahertz. What kind of life and position do you have in Tanzania as a journalist?
Actually, I'm devoting now my time, my life, and times a sacrifice to working with the rural people. I love them. They are people, they are very intelligent, but they are denied of so many rights. I'm siding with them. I'm a chairman of the Mtukwao-yhteisömedian. It's a rural, non-governmental institution or organization. It's a non-profit making organization which strive to see that the information flow from the opposite way, from the usual manner of the communication system which is existing in the country. We are advocating the down top approach, that the flow of information system. That means the information, instead of coming from the elite, the policy makers, to the poor, to the denied, to the people who are denied their own rights, and the only people we depend on for the economic growth, and the only people who feed us, the only people who do not have the rights like for the basic needs like electricity. I am siding them that they have the information which has to go up, and not the information, the directives from up down. So I'm in Mtwara, the southern part of the country, with the organization called Mtukwao. We are working with the one organization here in Finland, Vikes. So we are doing the rural work right now.
Tell us a bit about the freedom of speech in Tanzania.
Yeah, the freedom of speech, actually, I would say it's not that much given to the hands of the general public. It's not something that you can really. There are a lot of violations, of course. There are so many law and legislations which limit people from doing this and that. Even the newspapers, they have their. So long as what's happening now is the elite and the politicians are taking control of the newspapers so that they talk their own things.
What is the difference between the role of journalists and media also in democratic and undemocratic states?
Yeah. In a much more democratic state, I believe myself, that's the way I see it anyway. It could not be very right. But in a totally democratic state, there is much freedom of speech, because the limitations beyond which a journalist has to take the information to the other end are fewer. But in a non-democratic country, you would find there are so many barriers, and even the killings for the one who advocates the right for the poor, for the underprivileged. So that, I think, they are the major issues and differences.
What is community media? How it works in Tanzania and other countries?
Community media, by definition, by itself, is the media which is owned, operated, and managed by the community itself. So it's a media which propagate issues about the community. It's a platform for the community people and the rural people to air their issues. It's a place where they can talk freely without limitations. There are no laws abiding them. I mean, it's their own thing which talks about their own life. But again, it empowers them. It empowers them to to have a capacity to discuss, to debate policy issues, even at the national level. So long as they will be experienced, they will have the capacity.
The community media are closer to the public and they allow local voices to express themselves. Does offer your community media print media or not?
We do as depending on the priorities of the community people. What we are doing is that we go to the community, we discuss issues of their own interest, and they would always say we have this problem, and in a priority, this is a problem number one, this is a problem number two, this is a problem number three. So the issues we are taking into consideration are the priorities of the people.
Radio plays a huge role in our ability to reach the illiterate. How it does work in Tanzania?
It's true. The radio can penetrate to the rural people, and it can reach immediately on the spot. The moment you are speaking to the people is the moment they catch, and it can penetrate to the rural people. Unlike other media or like the newspaper, it has to be carried in cars and it has to be printed at the town urban centers where there is the electricity to run the machines, big machines. And like television, which would need electricity to get the message in the village, it's not possible. So we are using radio to penetrate through the internet, the remote areas. Somebody can have a radio set, or then the neighbors could come there and get the message. If well organized, put into simple language and according to the needs, and actually the Jamii FM we are having, the community radio, is playing that role.
Who supports or funds your activity? In an ideal case, the community media activity is based on volunteer work. All stations have financial problems even after acquiring the equipment, because the running of a radio station requires funding even if the activity is based on volunteer work.
Yeah, it's a challenge. Of course, in running radio, you need some finance. Of course, electricity has to be used and the needs. And you need the young journalists would always need the money to foot to earn their living, to have the aspirations, some of the needs. They have a lot of thinkings and hopes in life. And when you have the community radio working on a voluntary basis, it will always create some problems in the program making and other things. But I believe if you use the indigenous, in our case, we use the indigenous people, we use the community members, we train them to be able to record their programs. We train them at a certain stage. We use the young boys to know how to operate a computer set, which can be used by several communities to edit it. They can edit it in their own, and they find that is a learning process as well, using a computer at a community level, and they feel that they have is a start of the long journey. And we actually do the capacity building. Those who are doing better, we send them further for the training, and they feel that is their hopes are still on the right path.
How and by which way the local and national governments do support your activity?
Yeah, I would first say that the local government is with us, is supporting us, because they normally provide us space. For instance, where the local community, the radio, where the radio is built, they have provided even a building for it, and the local government in the area, the district officials are welcoming us to make some coverage when it happens that there is an issue, and they would sometimes give us assignment or give us opportunity to make a coverage and make a documentary on cost sharing basis. But at the level of international community, we think VKC of Finland, they consider that the community radio is important, and they are supporting us with the equipment and even some finance for capacity building of this. Our staff we're working with, and as well as the community members, to do the recording of the programs.
I want to ask you about your activity. How it did give a voice to voiceless people, especially in the rural area?
Yeah, I think this is the same. We're coming back to the same notion that we want the rural people be part of the news, and we want the rural people participate in making their own news, and we want the rural people be in the microphone. That's why we have given the tape recorders to the rural radio groups. They make interviews themselves. They are brought to the station. We edit them just a little without disturbing the original tape, and it's broadcasted. So that feeling of the community people that we can record our issues, and we hear, and even the elite would hear, even the decision makers would hear what we are saying, what our problems in the community. Is that what makes us feel that now we have handed over the mic, instead of taking the mic from the station to the community and they make an interview? No, the interview is made at the community level, and vice versa. The tape is brought to the station for broadcasting. That's the handing over the mic.
How people, including male and female, have responded to this issue?
The response is very, very huge and enormous. In fact, we have so many younger journalists joining us. Even some of them have trained somewhere in mass media and communication. They are coming to us saying we want to join, but always we tell them that yes, you can join us, but you have to abide to our norms. One of them is that the communication process is the rural communication. We want the message come from the rural people to the top, to the decision makers, and then not from the decision maker advocating what to be done at a community level. No.
Most community radio stations and multimedia centers have an educational policy line. What about the community media?
Yes, we have we have the station policy, a document which has been passed by the communications authority in the country, and that policy contains a lot of ISCO and un-ISCO issues which we are bound of, but mainly I would say we are not bound to any political, religious, or any party which is which of course will influence us to do what they want. So our policy is that to remain that we talk the truth, and we remain bound to the laws and the regulations of the country and the area we are operating.
What were changed there because of your community media?
The changes, I would say, one of the best, one of the things that we can be proud of since we started is the change in the economic situation on the pricing mechanism of the cashew nut. Mtwara is one of the world's number one growing cashew nut area. And in Tanzania is the place where it's almost 2/3 of the crop is grown. So we made some participatory programs. We recorded the farmers on their grievances about the pricing mechanism, which does not consider cost of production of the crop. So when the programs were heard by the farmers and other community members, that stimulated them to come together, and they joined hands. They sent the grievances and the requests. They went even up to the president of the country, crying that you have to change the system of the marketing. So the president ordered that the system should have some areas which favor which considers the production cost of the farm. So that was changed, and now they are having a system which enables them to get the price of the crop twice as much than it was to be. Also, we had the programs on aflatoxin. People are now, they have changed on their behavior of production. They assure themselves that they should not send rotten granules to the market, and even those who are the traders, they keep the granules in bags which do not have which are not humid, so that they do not rot and they spread the disease. So it's one of the things that I think we are proud of. The people have changed.
Do you pay attention in your project and media work to the children and their life, health, agriculture, women's status, and good governance in the rural area?
Yeah, we consider this advantaged people and special groups like the disabled, like children. We also put some religious, both Christian and as well as Islamic programs. We fulfill the needs of the society, the community. If the community says that these programs we are not interested, they are wastage of time and airtime, we don't put it. But otherwise, most of the issues in a community, all the surrounding community, are taken into consideration in our program parade.
How people's state of mind has changed as a result of media?
Really, there is if we could say that we have succeeded, one of the achievements that people now appreciate the idea of having the radio for the community. The community members are proud of they're very much proud of the station, and they would always come to the station, and they always come with the tapes, recorded tapes about their own issues. They feel they are heard. They feel the ownership of the radio is theirs. So the attitude of the people generally is just very positive to it.
You are listening our voice from Lahi Radio. Our guest, Fakihi Mussa, in the studio is telling us about the media and its role, especially community media in the rural area of Tanzania. Enjoy what we offer under the name of Inside of Tanzania. I want to know about the kind of relationship and interaction between people and environment in the rural area. Are you going to give information over the protection, also their environment?
In the rural
area, yes.
Yes, I understand. I don't have much with the kepa, but I understand is a is an NGO in Finland. It has projects in Tanzania and some other countries, Nepal. They are having several problems. Programs in other rural areas, and I think I appreciate. We are not closely working with them, but I appreciate their stand that they have to work with the rural organizations, which the organizations which are most of them, they have the rural themes, rural issues they are doing. So they are supporting these organizations, which is, I find it's a very good idea, and they are doing something very good to the human being.
The situation of media is so changed and is changing during the last 2 decades. Do you think the internet and the social media can affect the position of community media?
It's not at all. I do not believe on that. The community media, after all, by itself is very cheap. You would send there just a tape recorder, which is just very cheap, and it would need probably battery to run it, dry cell radio. But the online, social media through the even the handset, mobile phones, of course, it's growing very fast. But again, people, especially in my area, people's ability to buy to recharge their phones, it's very costly. Also, another disadvantage of the online or social media at the grassroots level is that some of the reliability of the information. Anything can be communicated through online, but otherwise, if people had a good income, because the problems there is the income and the credibility of the information in it. If these two things are settled, I think it's one of the best media, and it could go very fast. But the problem then comes, even if you have a handset at the rural area, even charging would need electricity. Some have to travel some kilometers to go and recharge. Charge the batteries and recharge with the new vouchers or whatnot. But otherwise, in my country, is fast growing. But it's a threat, of course, to the national radios, which would take things from the elite, from the ministers in Helsinki, for instance, all the way to 300 kilometers. That information to be worked with that situation. That situation is generally bad, and I think that's a threat to the national radios. But not a communist radio will remain, and it will continue to have to play its role.
What are the challenges you face during the work?
The main challenge is always, when you come to developing countries, always they will say the budgetary lines are narrow. And of course, we are not the exception. And another thing is that the interpretation always will differ. Empowering people to speak their mind, empowering people to have energy to counter-react to situations which there is against their norms and the development needs. People, especially the policymakers, at times they would say, "No, you are against us. You are creating enmity between us and our citizens." So those are some of the challenges. But I think it's a negotiable situation.
We talk a little about the media. What is the role of national media in Tanzania? How they reflected the needs and visions of people across the country, including the rural area?
Maybe I could say post-independence activities, we saw radio being controlled by the ruling party. It had its own newspaper. The government had its own newspaper, and the radio station, a big one, a national one. And individuals and private people, businessmen, whoever, was not allowed to have a radio station. But from 1994 onwards, after multipartyism and the free economy, so many newspapers blossomed. And we have now almost 60 radio stations, and we have about 15 television stations. We have about 40 newspaper houses. We have on weekly basis. We have 18 daily newspapers. But my friend, this increase in number of newspapers, we thought that was a democratic thing. But at the end now, it does not. It's the politicians and the elite, those who have grabbing the opportunity to control this, denying the right to information to some, because the contents is dictated by the owner. If the owner dictates the content, it means that it's not the public interest. It is always personal interest. That's the narrowing the role of mass media in development. That's the way I see to it. That's why even in Mtukwao thought this trend is not good. Let us now reverse the situation. Let the community hold responsible to their own media. Let them manage their area so that they can talk their own issues and the problems.
What is the woman position in the media in Tanzania? How do you work with girls and women?
Tanzania was formerly was regarded as a country of peace, the island of peace in the continent, and equality was left by the founder of the nation, Julius Nyerere. He advocated equality for all the people, and we are in line with that one. In Tanzania, a journalist is regarded a journalist by profession, by his profession. It's not by his gender, and they have TAMWA, this association for journalists, the women journalists in Tanzania. It's a very strong organ, making sure that the women get opportunity to participate in development without considering their gender status.
Are they active, for instance, in politics?
Yes, in politics we have. In the parliament there was that UN charter saying that by the year 2025, I think, I'm not very certain, there should be 50-50 in the parliament. And in fact, the government of Tanzania is increasing the number of women participating in the parliament. And whereas if they did not win in a constituency, they would always choose some few. The president has been given a mandate to choose some women to participate. We have the ministers, we have the district commissioners, women district commissioners. The number is daily increasing. we are. I think it's a place. I think for that it's an excellent situation. I would say.
Are there non-governmental organizations active or not in Tanzania? I mean.
Yeah, what I can see now is that there is an increase in the non-government organizations in participating in total development of the country. They are participating really, and there are no limitations except where you are an activist and you are going against the government norms, you will be in trouble. And I think this is a situation elsewhere on earth, or especially in developing countries, where the politics is somehow premature.
What do you think should be done to support the civil society in Tanzania?
I think the government has to see to it that the civil society is supporting their endeavors, their efforts to develop the Tanzanians. So the government have to join hands with the civil society, and they have to be part of it. And it's doing it because there is public-private partnership. It has that, and I think it has not only to put in writing and advocate, but they have to finance and support the civil society so that it makes a valuable contribution to the development of the country.
What can the international community do more to help?
It's known, the resources, may I say, the resources from which are now being used by most of developing countries were those which were obtained from the underdeveloped countries during that colonial rule. So even the mines, even the gold, even other things were taken from there to here, and they developed these countries. We are now seeing that they are developed. Much of the resources came from there. It's not only that. For production pattern, these are industrialized countries. They have to support the efforts there to produce more, so that their industrial revolution or the industrial factories have to get the inputs from underdeveloped countries. So I think the developed countries have a role to support the developing countries so that they have a mutual living. And the global living cannot be sustained if there is no mutual, no collaborations. What they need from Africa is what is to be produced, and they have to support it so that it's produced. So there is exchange of goods, ideas, technology, and so many things. You can remain with this technology in Finland, but somebody in Tanzania, at Mbeya, does not have that technology. Where are you going to get the good coffee? You have to get it from Mbeya, Tanzania. So you have to support those so that you get a cheap coffee here, and your factory for processing coffee has to run. So I think there is something securing somewhere.
As a journalist,
yeah,
how people in Tanzania in general think about the Western world, especially states and their policy toward Tanzania and other countries?
It's a very, very big question. But what to my understanding, I would say, the general interpretation of the my country is that the developed countries, industrial countries, is a place where we have to go and get technology and to get expertise which we can use to produce more so that we can improve our development. I think we do not depend on developed countries to get the political issues. The policies, they are quite different. But we have to remain in the same pot with the developed countries to discuss the issues of development, because they would benefit both countries. Otherwise, we feel the developed countries, Western countries, they have a deal with us, and we have a deal with them. We depend on each other.
Time is running. Fakihi Mussa, at the last part of our program, please say what the next words and issues do mean from your view or perspective, but of course, shortly and briefly. Uhuru na umoja.
Okay. Actually, I was thinking, especially within Mtukwao-community media, we hope in the future the information system has to be localized as much as possible. This tendency of having top-down approach in development issues has delayed the developing countries from developing their communities. If you develop a community, you develop the nucleus, and that's the cell of the country. So we have been forgetting to develop a cell and think that the whole body can develop while we are leaving the cell underdeveloped. That's a mistake we've been doing. So I will always strive to ensure that whatever I understand, that the development has to come from the cell. I will tell this truth, and I don't think there's something to stop me on the way. And I will encourage others to have the truth that we have to develop the nucleus, the community, then the whole country can develop.
Mungu ibariki.
Mungu abariki Tanzania, Mungu abariki Afrika, Mungu abariki dunia.
Zanzibar.
Zanzibar will be there forever.
Bantu.
Bantu are there to exist.
Travel.
We'll always travel here and there.
Road.
The road to prosperity is unity.
World Village Festival.
Village Festival have to expand to other countries.
Democracy.
Democracy is there to make human dignity be felt.
River.
And the river between, we have to respect it.
Bread and freedom.
Freedom is what we have to stick to. Freedom is the right, the basic right of everybody.
Voiceless people.
Voiceless people have to be given the mic.
The greatest stateless people and nation in the world.
The rural people are worthful. We have to develop them. We have to send the resources. They are the nucleus of the nation.
Future.
And the future generation will depend on what we are doing now.
Pen.
Pen. Yes, the mighty pen have to watch the evil deeds and unearth them.
Togetherness.
Togetherness is our motto. Regardless of the race, you are black, you are white, we have to go together.
Social life.
Social life is after work. We have to consider it as where we start planning.
Microphone.
Microphone will be our medium, and that will be at the central theme of discussion.
Book.
Then the books will remind us where we have come and where we are going.
Teacher.
The teachers are there to facilitate the growth of the mind.
Snow.
Snow will remain where it is called, and the world change. It is the education we need all over the world.
Winter.
And the winter will always keep us in a cold atmosphere, but our energy will remain the same, working with the class, the underprivileged class.
Dreams.
Our dream is to ensure that the nations in a day will come to have the common stand that we are all human beings, regardless of the race.
Shadow.
The shadow in between might prevent us from thinking that he is right and he is not right. Let us remove the shadow. Let we meet eye by eye and discuss issues of importance.
Dry.
Dry land, dry situations. These are the challenges of the climate change. May Almighty God keep us in peace. Ensure that the climate change does not make us live in unfavorable situations.
Lion.
The lion will be great in the forest, but the lion will never be a threat if we combine efforts.
On land.
Land is the privilege given by God to all humankind. Let we all have the right to own piece of land, especially where now people think land is the right of the few.
Mother language.
Mother language is the culture. Mother language is where we have come. If you don't respect your culture, if you don't respect your language, you are underprivileged in your own heart, and the people will see in your face for the deeds because you have forgotten your right to be from that mother, from that father.
Money.
Money is just a medium of exchange. We shouldn't consider it the only means of development.
And God.
And the God will remain, will give us harmony. Let God, please, we pray upon God that the mankind on earth live in peace and love.
Dear Fakihi Mussa, thank you very much for participation in our program.
Thank you very much.
Dear listeners, I, Aziz Sheikhani, want to thank you for staying with us and listening our guest Fakihi Mussa from Tanzania. Take care, and I wish all the best to you. Thank you again, Mussa.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Yeah.